There aren't a whole lot of things that get me truly upset in life. But one of them is when there's an actual good movie out in the theaters and there's not many people going to see it. So if you have not gone out and seen Those Who Wish Me Dead yet, what are you doing? I mean, if you liked Hell or High Water, or if you liked Sicario, or if you liked Wind River, if you liked any of those movies by Taylor Sheridan, then you need to go see Those Who Wish Me Dead. And those numbers need to be pumped up. Just because it's streaming on HBO Max doesn't give you an excuse to go see a good movie in the theater. It probably does to most of you, but that's not what we here at Movies Are Dumb Sometimes believe, because movies are designed to be seen in the theater. So go see it in the theater. Welcome to Movies Are Dumb Sometimes, because movies are dumb. Now, since pretty much most of you have not gone out to see Those Who Wish Me Dead and probably aren't seeing it at your house because you think you have better things to do in your life, quick recap of the movie. Hannah, portrayed by Angelina Jolie, is a smoke jumper and she is one of the boys. But at some point, we have little flashbacks to when she let some kids die, apparently. So we go to Florida. And in Florida, there's a man named Owen who on the news sees that the DA has been killed. His house has blown up. So he decides him and his boy need to take off. Now they go on a cross-country journey. I didn't realize how much of a journey they went on right away, but they drove all the way to Montana because his dad knew the guy, or he worked for the guy. He was a forensics accountant, and he knew that these bad guys were going to come after him if they went after the DA. And they were. The two bad guys in the movie were after him. So they take their journey on the way up to Montana. And this is when we kind of learn more about Hannah. She is, like I said, truly one of the boys. She's crazy, but she is broken up. She is so broken up inside. Those kids dying have been haunting her since the day they died. They put her in a fire tower because she failed her psyche valve, which in the movie they explained. They gave to her 3 days after the incident, which I guess is pretty quick. It would be, I guess. You need some time to soak something in like that. But the bad guys go to Owen's house and discover somehow, it's just crazy in these movies where they just see a picture on the wall and then they can pinpoint, oh, they're going to go there. Like 1 in a million chance. And yeah, I mean, it makes sense though. It was a survival school. There was a cop in the photo. So they were like, they're going to go meet up with them, which they were. They flew up there, so they beat him there. So the assassination of Owen happens and his son gets away. It's a pretty violent assassination. What else do you expect from Taylor Sheridan? But not overtly violent. And the kid gets away, and before his dad dies, his dad tells his kid, creeks lead to rivers and rivers lead to towns. And I thought that was something that y'all need to know. So while all this is going on, Hannah's fire tower gets hit by lightning and she can't go back up there for some reason. I'm pretty sure it had to do with electrical reasons. So she's down and she sees the kid. They have a little squabble. She eventually gains his trust and they go back to the tower. So they try to get to town, but then they run into the fire. I don't know how she didn't see or smell or sense the fire, but they decide to go back to the fire tower, or she decided for him. He wanted to keep going through the fire. Meanwhile, the two bad guys, the assassinators, they find Shane's wife. His name isn't Shane. His name is John Bernthal's character. The two killers go to the survival school where they find the wife of John Bernthal's character. They get into a skirmish with the pregnant wife. For whatever reason, this guy is okay with killing kids, but not a pregnant woman. But anyways, she gets away. So they have their little squabble. Oh, that's one thing I forgot to point out was that the cop here, John Bernthal's character, is Ethan, the brother-in-law to Owen, whose wife has died of cancer. So they're going to the survival school. The assassinators, I said it again. The killers get there first. They fail in killing Ethan's wife, and then Ethan shows up and they take him prisoner, and they basically make him track down where the kid went. So there's a big showdown at the fire tower. Allison, Ethan's wife, shows up and saves the day. It's a pretty good scene. I didn't know how they were going to get out of it, but obviously they did. Hannah and Connor get away, and the young assassin goes after them, and they neutralize the assassin, and they get away, and they evade the fire, and the movie ends with the news showing up to talk to Ethan. All right, first off, I don't know if any of your theaters out there in the world have any type of, oh, the coronavirus is a thing video that plays before the movie. If it does, can we get them to stop playing this now? I mean, it's 14 months into this thing. We think we have it pretty under control. Even Walmart says we don't have to wear masks anymore. So can they just stop playing the video? I'm just kind of over it. I mean, maybe it's because I've seen it about 60 times now. They could have at least bought some different varieties and had a different voiceover or something, but I'm sick of hearing it. It's called Before the Movie. I'll link to it in the show notes description. If you just go to the blog post, you'll find a link to it. Pretty sure it's on YouTube. But there's this part where this lady goes, "Join us." And you can obviously tell it was a redone take, and it's super annoying. Anyways, so the movie opens up, and we have the two assassins. Clearly, I don't know what it was about them, but you could tell they were assassins. And they're going into this lady's house. They asked if the husband was home. That was the first thing they did. Then it was like, well, why did you need the husband? That should have ticked her off, or that should have tipped her off. That should have tipped her off. But she was, I guess, not a smart woman. The thing that got me about this scene is they blew up the house as they drove away. Why? I mean, they could have waited 5 minutes. Well, I mean, throughout this movie, they do, the two assassins, especially the old guy, he's very bent on making sure that things are dead. People are dead. So I guess you'd want to do it while you're right there so you can see the house blow up. But then if you really want to make sure they're dead, shouldn't you go and check for the bodies? So I think they could have just driven away for a few minutes and got a pretty good start on it. But that's just how I would kill somebody. Not that I think about how I would kill somebody, but I do look at movies and decide what's dumb sometimes.
And now, time for a favorite quote.
Dang, and I think one of my favorite quotes came from the very beginning of the movie when we first meet all the smoke jumpers. Hannah's there with her smoke jumper friends. They're all bickering around each other like men groups do. If you've ever been in the army or the marine or in the military or a cop or something like that, I'm sure you know. One guy said something like, "Oh, I'm going to win the lottery tonight." And the other guy said, "Oh, I'm going to get a threesome tonight." And then, the same guy said it. And then Hannah turned around and said, "Oh, you getting a threesome would hit the lottery." I thought that was great. Now, I know this movie was based on a book of the same name. So Taylor Sheridan had, I guess, some pretty good source material to go off of. But I thought it was kind of weird that they lock the towers. I don't know, would that actually stop somebody from, like, if somebody was going through a tower and they got up there and they were planning on stealing or hanging out up there and it was locked, would they go, "Oh, I guess that's it"? I wonder how many people actually hang out in these towers. But I digress. That's me talking about something I don't know anything about. There was a scene where Ethan and his sheriff were having lunch and a phone rings. The sheriff's secretary is sitting right behind him. And the secretary says, "It's your wife calling." And he goes, "Oh, I don't want to pick that up." And I was like, does he make his secretary follow him around? Or is that a thing? I don't know. Somebody let me know, because that seemed a little weird to me, but it was funny. And then we find out that Connor has some magical druid powers or something, because he just walks up to a wild horse and just pets it, and he picks up a grasshopper and they're like best friends. And I thought this would play out to be something in the rest of the movie, but it absolutely had nothing. It showed that Connor was a kid who had some sort of specialness about him. And that's what this whole movie, the good thing about this movie is that it does stand alone. You don't really need any more information for the movie to work, but it felt like this movie is clearly a movie that has a sequel planned, and you know how I feel about that. I don't know anything about the book. Maybe the book is part of a series, but there were just a lot of little things in this movie that would have been nice to have. But if they're having a sequel because this is a book, and if it is a series of books, then I get it. No, I don't, because you should never make a movie expecting a sequel, because that's lazy. One thing about this movie I was starting to not like were the flashbacks that Hannah was having. I'm not a fan of these little flashbacks. They're kind of annoying. It's the same thing in every single movie, but thankfully they kind of ended about little about halfway through the movie, maybe not even halfway. But at the point where they were starting to get annoying, they stopped. So I was really thankful for that. This movie did have a lot of drone shots in it. And if you know me, you know I don't like drone shots that are usually way abused. However, this movie does kind of get away with it because it is like these forests are huge. You city folk who don't even know what co-ops are probably don't understand how large a forest is. And you might have to be reminded a few times knowing how big this forest is. Now, this assassination that happened to Owen, wow. It's kind of legit, I guess you'd say. I don't know if you'd want to say it is legit technically, but it's intense. These two bad guys had me very convinced about how bad guys can be. However, like I said, like I don't get why the one bad guy was okay with killing Connor, but not killing a pregnant woman. Maybe it was because the woman didn't have anything to do with him, but they made it clear they had to kill everybody that saw their faces. I don't know what would stop him from killing a pregnant woman. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not a killer and I don't understand. There was one really good survival tip they gave in this movie. I think it was like the only one. It's that if you're lost in the woods, remember, creeks lead to rivers. Rivers lead to towns. So remember that, city folk. This assassination of Owen, when the two assassins were killing him, Owen stepped on the gas of the car to make it cruise down the hill. And the older assassin guy says, "Does this effer ever die?" Because I was like, what do you mean, does he ever die? To me, it was a line that really didn't make much sense. It stuck out to me. I don't know what I would have replaced it with, but I don't know if I would say that in that instance, especially if you don't really know if he... Never mind. I don't know. You can yell at me for not liking that line. Like I said, I really enjoyed this movie, so I'm kind of nitpicking. Okay, I had to look it up. The assassins are the Blackwells. Jack and Patrick Blackwell. I don't know if they were brothers. I don't know. It just says in the wiki thing here that they are Jack and Patrick Blackwell. I don't even think I heard their names once. That's their names. I kind of stopped calling them assassinators. So Hannah is obviously really broken up over what happened last time she was in charge of a fire. She puts on this big front like she's the biggest, toughest guy in town, but she really is super broken up inside. It's a very machismo thing to do. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I've never lost 3 children in a fire before, so I don't know how that would affect me, but the movie really didn't put it out too clear how much time had been between the two incident and now. So maybe it wasn't that long, because they were saying, oh, they just needed somebody for fire tower duty, and it was an easy decision for them to make, but I don't know. I'm just reading into this. Go see the movie. Have some fun with this movie. I'm sitting here trying to pick it apart when maybe I don't even know what I'm talking about. The Blackwells go and they get to the survival school finally, and they're about to go to the house as FBI agents. Dang, and they started a fire. They hate this area. They say numerous times throughout this movie, or after they get there, that they hate this area. But they started this area on fire before they even hated it. Isn't that wild? That's how bad these guys are. Did they really need to pick the one actor, the main bad guy, the main Blackwell? There's Tyler Perry makes an appearance in this movie, and I didn't see that coming, but he plays like the main bad guy, but you only see him in one scene. So we're just going to call the older Blackwell the main bad guy, and it's crazy. Oh boy, he looks so much like Rand Paul, and I'm sure a lot of Hollywood hates Rand Paul, so I'm pretty sure that was done on purpose. Hollywood. So the Blackwells get to the survival school, and at first I was kind of disappointed, okay? So I was thinking, oh, Allison is in charge of the survival school. Earlier in the movie, she's like fixing her compound bow. She grabs a can of bear spray, and I'm just like, all right, she's going to kick some butt. I'm cool. I'm down with that. Let's see this pregnant lady kick some butt. And right away, she gets whipped around like a rag at a bar. And I'm just like, oh, geez, that's so sad. But then after they taunt her and tell her, they're being bad guys, she puts that can of bear spray in her hand and they go, you got it turned the wrong way. And she said, no, I don't. And she turned it into a flamethrower and set them on fire, set their faces on fire. And she went and grabbed a rifle and shot at them. Nobody dies here, but this was a good scene. It was a very, very intense, very, it could have let you down pretty big time, but it did not let me down at all. Okay, so Mr. Blackwell is having her call Ethan to get the kid there. There's the whole thing about the kid, which I won't talk about that, so that you have some sort of the reason to see the movie. Ethan knows that they're there, so he comes obviously right away. So he gets there. His little deputy, or was he the sheriff? The old guy, the old cop. He had to have been the sheriff. How could Ethan be? Ethan was like 35, and this guy was like 70. Oh well, all white people look alike. So his deputy or whoever Ethan shows up with has a dot right on his face. Now I've never had a laser put on right on my face, but I'm sure if I did, I'd see it. So he gets killed. And so they got Ethan. They make Ethan a captive. I'll leave it open to you so that you can go see the movie to see how they keep him captive. But Shane at one point says, just kill me. I mean, we all know you're going to kill me, so why don't you just kill me? And he even tries to fight them, but they let him live for a reason I will not disclose. There was one part of this movie where Hannah and Connor are leaping across an open field to, I guess, get through a lightning storm, which in this movie, there's a lot of lightning hitting the ground here. I've never been in a forest when there's lightning and stuff, but it looked like this storm should have had this whole forest ablaze. But at one point, she apparently gets hit by lightning. I don't know if you've been near lightning. The closest I have ever actually been to an actual lightning strike was probably about 150 feet away. I was driving in a car, and it was loud as balls. And these lightning strikes were hitting right around these two. Like nothing was happening. They were just running like, hey, let's keep running. And I'm like, shouldn't your ears be hurting or something? But they were just running like it was the happiest day in the world, even though I'm exaggerating. So the next dumb moment I want to talk about is the assault of firepower onto the tower that the Blackwells unload. It happens in like every movie. It seems like these bad guys, or just everybody, has so much ammo. If they had drums on their rifles, I could maybe see it. They were very expert assassins, so there's no really saying. I mean, they could have been switching out their mags really quick, but they were just in like suits. They weren't. I don't think they were in any type of. They weren't carrying any battle gear, but they had so much firepower. So there's all this action that happens during the climax of this movie. And then the younger assassin, the younger Blackwell. Ooh, I was a fan of how bad of a guy he was until we get to this part where there's the fire and he has his flashlight on. You couldn't see me, but I just rolled my eyes and turned my head. There's this fire that's eating this forest away, and he's walking around with his flashlight on. And that's not even the dumbest moment of this guy. Everybody listen to this. So Hannah is behind a tree with a little sickle axe thing. She's got a little melee weapon, about 1 foot to 1.5 foot long. He's got a handgun, and he knows she's behind the tree. So she's sitting there waiting for him to make a move. All he had to do was take 2 steps back. 1, 2. And she would have been well out of range of him being hit by her. But he kept walking towards the tree. And I was, it's like, this movie was so close to what I, as close as perfection can be. It was so close. And then your guy has to make a move like that. And I'm just like, don't ever take a knife to a gunfight. There's a reason for that. Because the guy with the gun's gonna win. Unless you're Indiana Jones, I guess you might not win. But I don't know. Taylor Sheridan. There's always one moment in your movies that just are like, why? Why? But really, this whole podcast episode was just me complaining about tiny little things. Almost. The handgun versus the knife thing is a pretty big thing. I didn't understand that at all. If you haven't gone out and seen this movie, please go out and support it. I don't know how much they make from a stream on HBO. Go see, if you saw it in HBO, imagine what it's going to look like in the theater, because this is a thriller action movie, which need to be seen in the big screen, especially look at big old Tyler Perry coming out of nowhere. But I will tell you, nobody eats 3 MREs a day and is half as skinny as Hannah is in this movie. Angelina Jolie, her character should have been played by Rebel Wilson if she was doing 3 MREs a day. Because one MRE, if I remember correctly, is like 2,000 calories. That's supposed to be, one MRE is supposed to be good for the day. She claims she's eating 3 of them. I don't think so. But I think my favorite part about Hannah was when she was telling the boy how to get laid when he gets older. That was pretty funny. But if you enjoyed this podcast, so normally I write out the podcast and then I read it. So I thought today I'm just gonna wing it and see how it went. If you liked how I wung it, please let me know. I'll probably take better outline notes next time, but I am upgrading my computer tomorrow. Oh boy, I'm excited for. Am I upgrading my computer? Yeah, I'm putting new RAM in. Oh boy. Did you imagine that? Getting a computer with new RAM? I'll know that tomorrow. So I wanted to make sure to get this done before I went and possibly blown up my computer. So I just want to get these out there for you. Hope you enjoyed the Mortal Kombat one. Hopefully you enjoyed Those Who Wish Me Dead. And if you did, make sure to follow me on Twitter at MoviesAreDumbS, or you can follow me on Facebook at MoviesAreDumbSometimes. Follow the podcast. It's on many podcast accounts. Just go to anchor.fm/moviesaredumb sometimes to see a list of the podcast. It's also on Stitcher. You can find us on Stitcher, which for some reason you can't put your Stitcher link in Anchor, or just go to blofx.com and look at the Movies Are Dumb Sometimes page. If you listen to this soon enough, you'll get the podcast page, which, you know what? I just realized I need to be smarter about naming my show page, my transcript page, because if you don't like me talking, you can always go read what I said. So I really appreciate you listening. And remember, movies, even Hollywood movies, are dumb sometimes. Oh, and listen to WTF Did I Watch? The last couple episodes of Movies Are Dumb Sometimes. I think Juan needs to get on and get that podcast back up and going. Get to the chopper corner.